Hi, I'm Gael, and in this video I will try to help you decide if the Pacific Crest Trail is a trail you should hike. The Pacific Crest Trail is a 2,650-mile trail in the US going through California, Oregon, and Washington. The southern terminus is in Campo, right by the Mexican border, and the northern one is at the Canadian border near Manning Park. The idea for a border-to-border trail first came up in the 1920s when Catherine Montgomery suggested the trail. It was then developed in the 30s by Clinton Clark and was finally declared a National Scenic Trail in 1968. It is, with the Appalachian Trail and the Continental Divide Trail, one of the three long-distance trails of the Triple Crown. The first time I became aware of the PCT was reading about it in one of those 100 Things to Do Before You Die books. Of course I knew I had to do it, even though, at the time, my priority was to hike the Terra and the Shikoku pilgrimage. I started to meet people who hike the PCT while hiking the Terra, and that made me want to hike it even more. Funnily enough, the movie Wild came out when I was on the TA, so I had this strange experience of going to the cinema to watch a movie about someone thru-hiking while being on a thru-hike. The number one thing to know before starting a PCT thru-hike is that it might not be possible to complete your hike without flip-flopping because of the significant increase of wildfires in recent years. Flip-flopping means you hike the trail in a discontinuous order. That is, if you're able to finish your hike, because it looks more unlikely every year. It's also very possible that you won't be able to reach the northern terminus because this section might be closed because of fires. So that's definitely something you need to make peace with before starting your hike. I recently watched a great video on the channel Kite Heights Hiking about how wildfires can affect a PCT thru hike. The PCT is a wilderness experience, and unlike a lot of long-distance trails in the world, you don't really go back to civilization on trail. That means that when you need to resupply, you need to hitch to town when you get to a road or send yourself food packages on the way. On the long-distance trails in the US, specifically the more popular ones like the PCT or the Appalachian Trail, you'll meet trail angels helping hikers on their journey. It can be someone giving you a ride, leaving a cool box full of sodas and goodies in the desert, having a setup on the side of the road to feed hikers, or people hosting hikers. As a rule of thumb, you should always offer $20 a night minimum to your host. You need a permit that sets your starting date if you're hiking more than 500 miles at a time. A total of 8,000 permits are delivered each year, 50 a day for northbounders and 15 for southbounders. To get a permit, you need to register in advance, not the day you apply for your permit. And be aware that permits go really fast, like within minutes. That means there's a good chance you won't get the starting date you're hoping for. It's possible to link two applications for people who want to start together, but it can be for more than two. There are two rounds of applications, one in mid-November with 35 permits a day delivered, and the other one in mid-January with the remaining 15 permits delivered. You will need a California fire permit. As I am editing this video, I came across the fact that it is now not possible anymore to walk into Canada when you reach the border, meaning you need to turn around and walk the 30 miles back to Harts Pass. All the links are in the description. You also have to carry a bear canister for the Sierra. You can buy one in Kennedy Meadows or South Lake Tahoe, depending on your direction. You can also rent them from Triple Crown Outfitters in Kennedy Meadows South or North. The PCT goes through a fantastic diversity of landscapes. Southern California is very hot, very dry, and most people can't wait for it to be over. But it's actually very beautiful, and I love this section. Sure, it's a long section, and when you're done with it, you're happy to see the mountains and have access to water more easily. But it's truly beautiful and can be really enjoyable. You also have some absolutely stunning mountains in the Sierra Nevada and in Washington, and a lot of forest hiking in Oregon, which is not nearly as bad as people make it out to be. You usually hear about Oregon as the boring section, where you can crush miles because it's flatter. But Oregon is beautiful, and again, I really enjoyed it. And to be fair, it's not only forest. You have Crater Lake, the Three Sisters, some volcanic areas, and the Timberline Lodge, which has the most famous breakfast buffet on the PCT. And it's also the Overlook Hotel from the movie The Shining. I mean the exterior, because the movie was actually shot in a studio in England. Before 2016, the PCT was slowly getting more and more popular, but not nearly as popular as the Appalachian Trail. But in 2015, as I mentioned, the movie Wild came out and people must have liked it more than I did, because the numbers on trail went off the charts after that, which is why the permit system was adopted. Now, only 50 people are allowed to start the trail each day. That means that a noble hike is a very busy hike. That being said, while on trail, it didn't really feel that way. There are a lot of people around water sources in Southern California, at campsites and in towns, but while hiking, it didn't feel that busy. And I camped solo pretty much every night, so the crowds didn't bother me much. It is estimated that only 10% of PCT hikers go southbound. I hike the PCT like most people going northbound, but if I were to do it again, I would definitely go southbound. Though there are downsides to a solo hike. First, you can't access the northern terminus from Canada because it's illegal. That means that if you want to properly start at the terminus, you need to go to Harts Pass, hike northbound for 30 miles to reach the terminus, then turn around and hike southbound. But really, there are worse things in life than walking twice through stunning scenery, because it's a really beautiful section of trail.
And as I mentioned earlier, you need to walk back to Harts Pass even if you're walking northbound.
The terrain is harder than in Southern California, making for a more difficult start than the noble hike. It's also arguable that the window to hike the trail is slightly shorter by going solo, and it's definitely less of a social experience than a noble hike. Then why would I want to go solo? Well, to start with, it's easier to score a permit, and you have less mosquitoes in California, meaning you can enjoy your lunch by that beautiful alpine lake in the Sierra without being eaten alive. Though, I have to say, I'm not sure how bad mozzies are in Oregon for a southbounder. Less mosquitoes and less snow and post-holding in the Sierra. It's harder to start in Washington terrain-wise, but at least you won't have to carry 6 liters of water under a 40-degree sun like I did by starting in Campo on the 5th of May. Southern California will have much cooler temperatures when you get there, meaning carrying way less water, but also probably fewer water sources. And although there are less people going solo, I believe that with less people, the bond between hikers is stronger. Northbounders usually meet the sobo bubble in Oregon, and honestly, I much prefer the sobo vibe. That's just a personal preference, but it will be the main reason for me to go sobo if I were to hike the PCT again. The most important piece of information regarding your choice of direction though is the wildfires, and the reality is that a sobo hike is probably more likely to get impacted than a nobo one. The ideal start date for a nobo hike is usually considered to be around mid-April. Southern California is not as hot as it is in May yet, and it gives you time to start slowly before getting to the Sierra. But really, you start when you're able to get a permit. On an average snow year, mid-June is a good time to be in Kennedy Meadows South and start the Sierra, but obviously it varies depending on the snow levels each year. A lot of people go in the Sierra earlier than that, but I wouldn't recommend it. From hearing their experiences, it seems pretty miserable. The Sierra Nevada is such an incredible place. You might as well try to enjoy your time there. When starting my hike, I was planning on a late September finish, but then I met a few hikers from Washington who all told me the same thing. You really want to be done by mid-September, it's winter after that. So I changed my pace to finish earlier, and I'm glad I did. I finished on the 15th of September, and the last week was already very cold and it started to snow. For a sobo hike, people usually start in early July. But make sure to check the snow levels at Harts Pass before starting. You can check these for the PCT on the post-holler website, and people going sobo try to be out of the Sierra by late September. Terrain-wise, it's fair to say that the PCT is pretty easy. The trail is extremely well maintained, and you have switchbacks taking you up and down mountains. Even the Sierra section is probably some of the easiest mountain hiking out there. Yes, there is snow and you're post-holding, but a lot of mountain trails are not even accessible in June. That being said, it doesn't mean the PCT is an easy trail. It does get very hot in Southern California. I started in early May, and it was pretty much always between 35 and 40 degrees. And as there aren't many water sources, you need to carry a lot of it. Many people carry an umbrella on this section. I haven't tried it myself, but if you're really concerned with the heat, that can help. Then when you get close to Canada, it gets very cold. Some people change sleeping bags when they get to Washington, so if you can afford it, you might want to consider that. The window to complete the trail can be a challenge. After the Sierra, you start seeing hikers doing their math, and some just don't feel like they want to do the miles they need to if they want to finish in time. There can be a lot of bugs on this trail. There are mosquitoes in the Sierra for northbounders, and I heard it can be held in Oregon, but I was lucky and somehow avoided the mosquitoes there. As well as the mozzies, there are heaps of other tiny bugs flying around your face that will drive you nuts. I carried a head net, and I'm really glad I did. And of course, there are other animals more dangerous than mosquitoes on the trail. The most common one being the rattlesnake, and you'll see a lot of them. Though you usually hear them before you see them. So yeah, be aware of your footing, but there's no need to be paranoid about it. There are also cougars on the PCT, or mountain lions, or whatever you call them. If you are in a cougar area, you're usually safe by walking with other people. Though I only knew I was in a cougar area when I came out of it, and people told me it was. Not the smartest move. Bears. There are black bears on almost the entire PCT, but they aren't really something to worry about. They can become aggressive, but it is extremely rare. Keep your food away from your tent and you should be fine. There are a few grizzlies, but only in those cascades. Apparently there are only around 15 of them in the area and you go straight quickly. Your chances of seeing one are very slim, but if you want peace of mind, it can be a good idea to have a bear spray for this section. There are a ton of very good resources for the PCT. The main one is of course the PCTA website. There you can find a water report and all the trail closures. Of course you have the Far Out app. Halfmile has great paper maps too. For guidebooks you have the Cicerone one and Yogi's handbook. Though for that one it stopped printing in 2023. And you can visit the Halfway Anywhere website, which has a great hiker survey and a lot of useful information. If you're not from the US, you need to apply for a B2 visa that allows you to stay in the country for 6 months at a time. It's a pretty tedious process and you need to go to the embassy, not a consulate, which can be a hassle depending on where you live. It costs $160 and you're not even sure to get it. I know someone who had her application denied. But the good news is, once you have this visa, it's valid for 10 years and includes multiple re-entry. That means that if you want to hike the AT or CBT, you don't need a new visa for 10 years. But if you stay 6 months of a year in the US, you'll have to wait for a full year before you can come back in the country. So you cannot do the Triple Crown in 3 consecutive years. Of course, the most famous side trip on the PCT is Mount Whitney, the highest peak in the lower 48. It adds an extra 16 miles to your hike, but it's a highlight you don't want to miss. A lot of people climb it at night to catch the sunrise. I was too lazy for that, but it looks like a cool thing to do. Mount San Jacinto, one of the highest peaks in Southern California, is also definitely worth the trip. Because I knew I'd probably never be back in California, I wanted to explore Yosemite as much as I could. The PCT does go through it, but you don't really see much of the park. When I was saying that on trail, people would mostly say it was a waste of time. Yosemite is a Disneyland of nature is the answer I mostly got. Which is a bit of a snobbish statement really. Yes, there are areas that see a lot of tourists, but also a lot of very quiet places. And to be honest, the beauty of the park more than counterbalances the crowds. I did a week-long loop that I put together spending some time on the internet. I couldn't understand how the permits work to save my life, so I went to a ranger station with my itinerary, and I'm pretty sure the only extra permit I needed was for Half Dome, and I was lucky enough to score the last one available that day. If I remember correctly, I ran through Tuolumne River, Glacier Point, Half Dome, Clouds Rest, and other places I forgot. And Mount Hoffman, that was a really good one. It's the geographic center of Yosemite and it's fantastic. I'm not gonna lie, that week was actually the best of my trip. Oregon has arguably the best trail towns, and the best one in Oregon is Bend. Why is it the best? It has the highest number of microbreweries per capita in the US. And thanks to some great planning, I managed to be there on my birthday, which coincided with a beer festival. Needless to say, Bend became a vortex that was really hard to leave behind for me, though Ashland is also pretty awesome and a lot of people's favorite town. On my PCT hike, I sent myself 2 food packages, one in Kennedy Meadow South and one in a place in Oregon that I've completely forgotten the name of. But it turned out to be unnecessary, as the places where I picked up my packages had good resupply options. If you don't mind carrying a bit of extra food, I wouldn't recommend sending boxes at all. It's really a hassle to send and collect your packages during opening hours, and it's also quite expensive. The PCT is an amazing experience and it's a beautiful trail. It's very sad to think that someday it might not be possible to thru-hike it in one go because of the fires becoming more problematic each year. To be honest, I don't think I would consider doing the PCT Nobo again, mostly because the social aspect of it wasn't working for me, but a solo hike is something I would, though now with the fires, it's very unlikely. That's it, I hope you found this video useful. If so, you can help this channel by simply subscribing and liking this video. If you have any questions, let me know in the comments. Thanks for watching and happy trails!